Environmental zone restriction ahead. Make sure you have the required permit to proceed.
What?
Environmental zone restriction ahead. Make sure you have the required permit to proceed.
I'm Mike.
And I'm Danny.
And this is Petrol Revolt.
Number 7. Sheene gives it everything he's got.
Look at that!
Now that's really starting Sheene as a triumph.
In this episode, we have something truly revolting. It's often considered the iconic holy grail of motorcycling.
Welcome to Petrol Revolt's RG500 story. No RG500 story is complete without the legend Barry Sheene. Today we're lucky enough to have Barry's 76 championship winning bike and the last ever set of leathers Barry Sheene ever wore. This was the bike I see on all the photos and that what my dad used to show me, and this is, I mean, he was an icon he still is an icon in British motorcycle racing, you know. If any member of the public see this, they would know of Barry Sheene, and there's not a motorcycling icon, even nowadays, that can bring that to the general public. So that's where my fascination started with Barry. Obviously, growing up, Barry was my dad's hero, and being into motorcycle racing, that's all you knew, was Barry being the head of motorsport in Britain. I always looked up to him, even though I wasn't alive in his era. I looked up to him and I wanted to be him, like everyone else in motorcycle racing did want to be, and he was cool. I have seen it, but this close up, being able to sit on it, I've never sat on it before. Barry was an icon to not just to motorcycle racing. And even now, when I try and say to people what I do for a living is motorcycle racing, everyone says, "Oh, what, Barry Sheene?" You know, 1977 was the last year he won a world championship. So for his name to still live on, unfortunately he passed away in 2003, but his name still lives on to this day, and people still associate motorcycle racing with Barry Sheene in this country. The way he went about things, you know, being able to talk several different languages. Most of it was, I think, to chat birds up, but you know, to speak to press and stuff like that. There's a real good clip of him on a lot of his documentaries where he's, I don't know what, I think he's talking Italian, and then all of a sudden he turns around and goes, "All right, Mike," like that, or "Cheers, Mike," it's something like that.
L'agua 105 grados, toda la carrera, y yo más lento, más lento, más lento. Oh, thanks, Rob.
Just the way he can go from speaking Italian, it might have been Italian or Spanish, I'm not sure, but then to go into just, "All right, mate," sort of thing, just cool. Everything he used to do for me was cool, you know. The sport's changed a lot since then. He used to have a hole drilled in the front of his helmet so he can have a fag on the start line, put the fag out, and away he goes. Just an awesome era. I got to know the Smart family really well. Obviously Paul was Barry's brother-in-law and Maggie was his sister. I've met his son and his daughter, but I've never actually got to meet Barry, and that's one thing I wish I did get to do, and unfortunately I'll never get to do that. But his lifestyle, it looked like a playboy lifestyle, but behind the scenes I know that there was a lot of hard work and dedication what went into it. like with any motorcycle racer does, but a lot of people think back them days it was all partying and good times and getting on the bike and just going and having a good time. But behind it all, the top racers were hard-working men. You know, they used to do exercise, but they used to be able to also have to understand how the bike worked and be more of an engineer than what we are now. You know, I'm one of them. I wouldn't know what to do. I can tell a mechanic what the bike's doing or how it's feeling, but I wouldn't be able to tell a mechanic what to do or what to suggest to do. Now I might be able to a little bit because I'm a lot more experienced, but back then, you got to remember Barry, when he got on this bike, he hadn't had many years racing motorcycles. He started quite late in the day, really, for motorcycle racing. But just to imagine him racing this back in the day, I mean, you look at the tyres, you look at the exhausts, you look at the seating on it. You don't have a lot of room to manoeuvre on it, and I'm little as it is, and just cramping your legs up is hard enough for me, let alone for Barry back in them days, and racing these for probably half an hour. There's a clip, I think, of him at Silverstone. You know, the technical director wouldn't pass the bike, and it's Barry who goes up and tries to talk to the technical director to say, you've passed it for the last 2 days and it's been right at every Grand Prix, but now you're saying there's a problem with it. It was Barry who went there. You know, nowadays it would be your team manager or your team principal going up and doing it, but that was the way motorcycle racing was. You know, and we've been lucky enough as well for someone to give us a set of his old levers, one of his last set of levers, to show us today, and he's still got duct tape where the knee sliders are, and nowadays we have knee sliders on there, but a motorbike's a motorbike. Yeah, of course, they all do the same things. You've all got brake, you've all got gears, they've got a clutch, but this bike, to do what they done on them back then, is incredible. When you sit on it and there's so little room to manoeuvre on them, and, you know, to get down, you know, even your head now, even coming out, you wouldn't be able to get it past the screen, and it's got a very small power band on it, and the tyres back in them days, obviously they must have felt good, but they're not good. Back in them days, these were works of art, you know, and the number 7, as you can see on this, is just cool. Just the you know, the design of the number, and I've always said Steve Wheatman from Classic Suzuki, he's done a lot more for me than he realises. You know, I was lucky enough to ride, I can't remember what year it was, it might have been 74 or 75 bike in the Isle of Man. My dad was there with me. To be able to do that and to sit on this bike today is just like, I would never have imagined when I started my career, well, first when I started my career off, I never imagined to do it professionally. And to be able to sit on the bike Barry Sheene won the 76 World Championship on, I never thought I'd have got to do that. People like Mick Grant rode his bike around the TT, and my dad growing up, Mick Grant and Barry, them sort of guys were his idols, and my dad's managed to tap Mick Grant off on the parade lap at the Classic TT. And for Suzuki and Classic Suzuki and Steve Wheatman to do that, for me, money can't buy that. Money can't do anything. Just to experience these and to be sitting on this bike here now, money can't buy that. It's just once in a lifetime thing. Just grateful that we've got the opportunity today to have the bike here and look at it close up, and just incredible. And obviously, you know, we're covering the RG500 story, and that's how it's all come about, and how this classic, iconic motorcycle has come of age in the day is incredible, and that's the story we're telling.
It's been a phenomenal privilege to have Barry Sheene's bike here today, and it's just really cool to keep that RG500 story alive. To tell the RG500 story in one episode is just not possible. There's so much backstory to it. So in future episodes, we'll film the RG500 out on the road. We'll also let Danny loose on these machines around the track. And to find out more about Petrol Revolt, then please head across to our website, petrolrevolt.com.